Corey's having a few.
Hey everybody, we are getting ready to get started here. Kind of gathering our team together. Feel free to go ahead and submit questions starting now through the Q&A tab. We'll be able to use that to address any questions that you guys have, and then make sure that they're kind of cataloged for future people who might be interested in seeing what you guys are asking and learning from their from hopefully the somewhat coherent answers that we give you guys. You have myself. I'm Mark. I'm the president of Prime Academy. You have Scott Bromander, who is an instructor, and Fred Sheehan, who is our educational environment engineer or something.
You always laugh at that.
He gave himself a fancy title. I don't know. And then this is Esaf here, who will be probably growling and making noises throughout the Q&A, as well as in the classroom once you guys join us. So I guess to begin with, do you guys want to kind of introduce yourselves a little bit more beyond your names and go from there?
Sure. So aside from the fancy title, what that means in real life is that my job is to make sure that you guys have a very useful and effective learning experience within the classroom. So just make sure that you're prepped for the careers that you're going to be engaging in, and also make sure that we have a team environment that works well, that people are collaborating well in, and that we keep moving through the curriculum at a good clip so that we can hit a lot of the goals that we want to for you guys. And basically just making sure that it's an enjoyable time there too. A little bit about my background. I have way back in the day, I started out in cognitive and social psychology, did a lot of clinical research there, so I'll also be helping out with any well-being that comes up within cohorts. And then after that, I went into education, both through a master's degree at Harvard, taught in, helped assist with professors in distance ed at one of the grad schools there, and then did a lot of work within a corporate environment here in Minnesota, both with Target and then also C.H. Robinson down in Edenbridge. So it's a little bit about me. Mark?
Sure, I can start. My name's Mark. I have been in the software development field for about a dozen years now. The last 10 years I've spent with a company called The Nerdery in Bloomington, which is kind of one of the founding partners of Prime. And we're actually in the Nerdery right now. Our offices are being constructed 2 doors down north here. So they're going to be building it up, and we'll be getting into our space in February. So my background, I was self-taught as a developer, and I've been involved here at the Nerdery in development and product management, and in marketing for the last 10 years. But I'm really passionate about education, passionate about learning, and will be kind of involved administratively, as well as building the employer network and the hiring kind of relationships that we have with employers throughout the Minnesota area.
My name is Scott Bromander. I represent the instruction staff here. I'll probably be your instructor. I've been actually teaching for the past 5 years for Stanford Brown. I've been teaching web design, game development, and animation. Also, like Mark, I actually came from Nerdery as well too, so I was doing 2 things at once. So I was a developer from Nerdery for the past 3 years before joining the Prime team. In previous life, I was a corporate trainer as well too, doing trainings to 200 people at a time for a week long on highly technical content. So super passionate about learning, super passionate about education. Really looking forward to this program, and see you guys in
so housekeeping, really the way that this works is there's a Q&A button in your interface that you can use to ask questions. If you ask questions through there, what the Hangout system that we're using will allow us to kind of track which questions we're answering and make it easier for people who watch this later on to be able to find the answers to questions that they wanted. I see a couple questions are coming in already, so we're probably just going to dive right into it and start answering questions. If you have any additional detail or anything you need, feel free to dive in as we're going through things. But we're just gonna kind of start at the beginning here. So this first question, once my thing gets out of the way, says, has Prime Academy graduated a class yet? How are they doing? And that's a pretty easy first one. So no, we have not. We're actually just getting booted up. We're recruiting right now for our first 4 cohorts, the kind of very first inaugural cohort this spring. And then we have cohorts starting in July, August, and September as well. We're expecting that we'll continue that with monthly cohort starts beyond that in 2015 and beyond. But yeah, you guys, the people that we're recruiting right now are going to be our very first students. We are really excited that we've gotten such a great response from hiring partners locally, and we're really very kind of cautiously optimistic that we're going to have great prospects for audiences or for the first couple groups of students, especially so for them finding spots in the market. But yeah, this is our first thing. This is we're just getting started. So we're looking for pioneers who are interested in kind of helping us build this out and show that this can really work in Minnesota. Having said that, I will qualify it to say that the concept of accelerated learning and the style of teaching that we're doing in the program is not a new thing. So this is something that's been going on for 2 or 4 years throughout different parts of the country, in New York and San Francisco. By the end of the year, the kind of independent third-party survey that was done by an organization called Course Report estimates that there's going to be 5,000 graduates of programs like this by the end of, actually by now, by the end of 2014 or 2015 now. So it's a relatively proven concept. It's something that we have a lot of backing, a lot of interest from the business and employer community. So we feel really solid about it.
And we realized that the beta cohort that we're going to be launching, the first one, some people might be more interested in the second, the third, the fourth offering too. There's a lot of benefits in going in from first beta cohort too, and those are some of the things that we've talked a lot about with hiring partners that they're very excited about. It's kind of the first bite at the apple for coming through, the placements that we've got lined up. And it also gives you a lot more autonomy to start driving the experience. You can basically set a lot of things with what's going to be coming down the road for the other cohorts in terms of identity, in terms of some of the things that you want to do that are going to be fun and shaping some of the culture around it. So we're really looking for folks in that beta cohort who have a lot of excitement and drive and passion to build along with us on that.
Also, just to piggyback off all of that too, just to create some assurances in the beta cohort. The curriculum is actually being worked in conjunction with the hiring partners.
Yes.
So while we are in fact writing, we're actually they are just as much as the students are our customers, so is our hiring network. We actually treat them like so we're actually vetting everything that we're teaching by the hiring network to make sure that we're creating graduates that will appeal to the hiring network.
Yeah, and there's a lot of work that we've been putting into that. There's good reason for all the coffee that we're drinking here, and the network that we've been building is something that we're very proud and excited about.
Next question says, is there an age limit for applicants, or who would you like to see in your program?
Well, no, there's yes,
yeah.
there's a minimum age requirement, and that's basically 18 at the base level.
High school graduate.
So that's probably a better way of saying it. Obviously, no upper end, and who are we looking to find in the program? They're true to who makes a good developer. There's no set person. There's no set template out there for what the right person looks like. What I can say is that there are certain traits, there's certain drive, certain types of behaviors and motivation that we are looking for within those people. And that's really the core thing, is do you understand basically kind of the long path of self-learning, continuous learning that you're going to be encountering as a developer? Do you enjoy that type of challenge? Do you find invigorating? Do you find it something that makes a job really exciting to have that continuous learning and those new topics always coming up? And that's going to be one of the most important things, because we want to make sure that this is as much a good fit for you as it is for peers, as it is for other people in the cohort and for the hiring partners too. So that's really the answer of who we're looking for, is people who are excited about programming, who are excited about technology, and have an understanding and motivation to making towards that goal. It's a hard goal, and understandably so, there's a lot of that to do it.
A couple thoughts on that too. The first is that we've seen actually the applicants that have come in and completed the application process. We've seen a huge a huge range of demographic. And actually, we're super excited about that.
Absolutely.
I love the idea that it's going to be all over the board, and we're completely cool with that. Career switchers, people who have had many different careers, and so it's actually super encouraging to us because it brings a huge diversity to the classroom, which enables all sorts of different exchange of ideas and stuff going on, which would be awesome. With that said, one fact I thought was actually pretty interesting was that the average person who attends a bootcamp program like this is 29 years old and has already had 6 years of career experience. So absolutely, career switchers are in there. People who are, I'm saying that 29 is the average, and so there's people significantly higher and significantly lower on both sides. So I think it's really cool, and I'm actually super excited to get this classroom put together. So, Mark, you want to?
No, I mean, you guys pretty much covered it. The two audiences that we're seeing probably the biggest response from, and I think where we're going to be drawing a lot of things are career switchers, people who have been in an industry, in a job for a while, and they're looking to change things up and do something else. And then the second group that we have seen a lot of interest from is recent college grads, so people that are looking to add tactical depth to their kind of theoretical education from a traditional school. So we think those two are going to form a lot of the basis of the audience, but we're really open to anybody who is passionate about learning. So, okay, this question says, "Good morning. I understand that it is a very intensive program, and that does not scare me. Will coursework be self-contained during the day so that those of us who can't save up 3 months of living expenses can still be working on the evenings and weekends?" And it's kind of a tough question to answer. What we can tell you is that the program has kind of 2 states to it. The first 6 weeks, the preload section is a relatively modest commitment of time. We're expecting about 13, 15 hours a week for you to be going through that portion of the program. So we're definitely expecting that people can easily hold down a full-time job and be working during that period. For the main 3 months of the program, though, those 12 weeks that are central to the program, you're really going to be pushed to your limits just from the program. We're telling students to expect 60 or more hours a week in the classroom, and that's between kind of 8 to 6 Monday to Friday, as well as weekend projects that you're being assigned. There won't be a ton of homework necessarily. Like, I think some people are going to be able to get through the homework portion within the context of the classroom, but we really wouldn't recommend trying to be holding down a part-time job during that same period. These guys are chomping at the bit to jump in, but I would say, we do have a commitment to keeping the cohorts going. So it might be something where you're better off kind of trying to save up so you can completely focus on the school while you're in school. But I'll let you guys jump in with whatever notes.
Yeah, actually, the only note that I want to do is that programming is goofy in a way that it can take you 15 minutes or it can take you 8 hours. It really just depends on your level of understanding. And so, on the one hand, I could sit here and say, yeah, it'll be done by 6, 7 o'clock at night. But the other reality is that certainly for me, when I was on programming, I was almost people that I just didn't get it. I didn't get it right away. I didn't fully understand. I might understand it 80% of the way, but I need to understand. The more I feel comfortable, I need to understand 100. And I'd spend hours at night reading books about that last 20%. And so it's all about what level you want to understand it at and how the day went, right? If you didn't really get the concepts that we talked about in class and you need to supplement somewhere else, it can easily become a midnight type of night for you. So it's intense, and I'm not going to be on the bush and keep that. But on the other side of that is, home to career, right? We have an excellent hiring network. It's a great gig. I can't say enough good things about being a programmer, but I don't want to lie to you and say that you hold down a job in 12 weeks.
Yeah, there's definitely reasons behind the structure for accelerated learning programs, and part of that is that it doesn't make sense to say that it's going to be this time to 6 p.m. That's it. And part of that is because different people are going to run into different hurdles along the process. There's a lot of content that goes into that 12 weeks. You can't necessarily anticipate which week is going to be the hardest for you. We have a pretty good guess where the hard weeks are going to be, but individually, there's going to be differences in there. And to be fair to both you and getting the most out of the experience, and also to the other people who you're going to be working closely with in some team-based projects, we need to make sure that that time is prioritized to the best of the ability to make sure that everyone is getting to that state where they're going to be hireable and be able to make an effective contribution within a job on day one. And to do that, we really need to make sure that we have time set aside to be able to help you, guide you in whatever ways that students enrolling might need. And that's where it helps to have that flexibility within those evening hours, within potentially weekend hours. We can't say enough that the time that you put in to catch up on a topic pays multiple dividends in the following weeks. That's something that we really can't stress enough. We want to make sure that you have that ability to get over any hurdles that you encounter very quickly, and that we have the ability to guide you through that so that you're on good footing for the weeks to come. We want to make sure it's a valuable experience.
And it's also going to be something that we qualify in the interview process as well. You will actually be asking that question, making sure that you are available for that 12 to complete the 12 weeks, and really focus on the program. Great question.
There's two easy ones here that I'll hit. The first one is somebody says, "What's your dog name?" He's Cusack. His name is Esau, and he's a little shithead. Yeah, I know, right? This is a G-rated hangout. The other, maybe slightly more pertinent question is, I have an extreme allergy to dogs. I presume that the site is going to be pet-free. And I can tell you that, so I probably, under normal circumstances, will be bringing my dog into the school occasionally. Some of the other instructors may choose to do that at some point. We're not having students bring pets. Having said that, if somebody has an extreme allergy, we'll figure a way around it for that period. For while you're in school, we want to make sure it's a good learning environment. Scott actually has an allergy too, so he's on Claritin a fair amount of time. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. It's actually a pretty allergen-free environment. It's polished concrete floors and stuff, so it's and we'll have cleaning service, so it's going to be pretty easy. But if it does prove to be a problem for people, we'll find a way around it. Yeah. Let's see. This question says, "What is taught in the preload portion of the course?" This is to kind of level the starting level. Yeah. So it is. That's the point. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. So we're using supplemental material because we can't actually instruct you obviously via online. You know, the thing about online learning is that it can happen at any time, right? So some people work mornings, some people work afternoons, nights, whatever. So we did pull in a separate resource for that 6 weeks of preload. Now, with that said, we as a group, the instructor and then the other students watching will put this in an online forum, having discussions through discussion boards, emails, and so on. But the content that's actually covered, I'm not even saying part of that question.
I think it's kind of just like why is it?
Yeah, it's basically to demystify, we're actually covering quite a bit of JavaScript during that time, and it's absolutely to actually get a level playing field. Kind of the way that JavaScript technologies work as a whole is that there's kind of like this baseline understanding, and all of a sudden just explodes into multiple topics. And what I'm trying to do is actually move you through a lot of that baseline understanding, so that when we get into the classroom, we can really explore everything and have it all make sense.
Yeah, the foundations of what's covered. Those are going to be pretty basic things. So it's to make sure that even though we don't have an expectation that people have prior programming experience or anything, we can get you up to speed quickly, and we can start identifying where people might need additional help and guidance along the way and provide that as necessary. What we've done a lot of background research, looked at other boot camps, and what we feel most strongly about is that in order to get the most value out of the experience, we need you to be able to get to the point where you're practicing things and starting to move quickly as soon as possible. And that preload phase is really a way to get you kick-started into it, so that once you're in the classroom experience, the value that you're getting isn't just rote studying or lecture-based. It's actually hands-on practice. And that's really where we see the value in getting that Kickstarter piece.
Yeah, it definitely helps you get to the learn by doing part as soon as possible, and really be having some exposure, building confidence prior to stepping into the classroom for the first time. So.
Yeah, and it is something that we will be keeping tabs on to make sure that you're hitting certain milestones so that we can assist you and guide you along the way where help is needed during that time. It's not just push you out to sea in an online form or anything like that. It's going to be guided. And we definitely want to make sure that when you're starting to get exposed to these things, you have an ability to feel out where you might need some extra help, extra study while you have the time to.
Plus, it gives us a quick opportunity to. I'm not a stranger. You know, I won't be a stranger to you. You won't be a stranger to me. We'll be by the time we get in the classroom, we'll be on a first name basis. And you can actually, you know, as soon as you have a question, like, hey Scott, I don't get this specific portion. So it's all about kind of like helping get acclimated as well too. So.
Yeah. So we had another question via email there from somebody asking if there was a live link available for the tuition support stuff through Jewish Family and Children's Services. And I can tell you that there isn't. The way that this actually works is we do the first round of eligibility, and then for people that meet the admissions criteria for the school, who have indicated through their questions and through their answers on the application form that they would be eligible for services, then we send them on to Jewish Family Services for confirmation of their eligibility. One update I can give you guys on that. Right now on the website, we're listing $23,340 a year annual income as the threshold. One thing that they've updated since then, based on our conversations with them, they expanded the rules a little bit, which is to expand it based on the number of dependents that somebody has. So if you have multiple dependents, the income threshold goes up significantly. If you have one dependent, and this is like a financial dependent, it could be a dependent that you claim on your taxes, or it could be a child, and you're usually thinking about it in terms of children. You know, one dependent would bring it to $31,460. Two dependents brings it to $39,580, and so on and so forth, up to, I think they max out at 8 dependents. There's 7 dependents. So if you have more than 8 kids, you maybe stop getting a discount. I don't know. You definitely aren't going to have any energy left to come to school, so it's probably not a problem. But the threshold at that point is $80,180. So so it does scale a little bit with the size of your household if you have dependents. But we encourage you to send us an email if you have any questions about the financial aid process. It's a little opaque right now because it really is based on you filling out the application and being admitted, and then we're passing you on to Jewish Family and Children's Services at that point. So,
and like Mark said, I just want to stress that if you have financial questions, we understand how much of a concern that can be. Definitely reach out to us. Mark and the team, we've made great connections with the city, and we have people there who are willing and able to basically help out and look into different things and look into basically how it might work out in terms of financing. I know there's been some discussion too about other ways that they can potentially help out with folks who might have additional needs too. So that's absolutely something that is worthwhile reaching out to us on.
Next question says, what are the attendance requirements in regards to illness, sick kids, appointments that can't be scheduled outside business hours, etc.? Obviously, attendance is very important, but life sometimes happens.
Yeah. So I can actually take that one. So we have basically at this point, a 3-day policy before there's any type of academic review on that. And that's, you can miss up to 3 days out of 3 full days out of the full 12-week classroom experience there. One of the reasons why we limited it at that 3 days is because the speed of the material is going to be such that you might have difficulty catching up after that point. And then it also basically gives us a stake just to put in saying that at that point, we understand life can happen, there's going to be illnesses, whatnot, but we want to make sure that we have a formal process at that point to review and make sure that you're able to get what you need out of it, make sure that we have guidance and any type of provision to get you back up to speed. And that's also basically to protect the experience and value for the rest of the people in the cohort, so that if there aren't good reasons for people missing a lot of different classroom experience, for whatever the point being, that we have an option to go back and review and say, is this the best fit? Is this something that we can help you get through? Or is this something that potentially we need to have some type of one-on-one exception for and see how we can work it out at that point? So there's really just that baseline level saying that we'll take a look at things and work through individual solutions at that point. That could potentially mean at a certain point, if there's enough absences, all the way up to removal from the program, but that would be the extreme side of it. And that's more to make sure to protect the value and investment of the other peers that are in the cohort as well.
Yeah, and that's kind of one of the key things with attendance is that a lot of the school is built around concepts of social learning, and whether it's pair programming or working on group projects. And if we have a group of people or a pair of people where one of them is making less of a commitment to the school than the other one is, it's really not fair to the other people that are getting exposure to that person in a group or in a pair. So we're trying to make sure that everybody has a similar level of commitment. But it's really about us being able to have that threshold to have conversations that need to happen, and less about, okay, here's, we have a ledger somewhere that we're checking things off, and then you're going to be in trouble when you get to a certain point.
And again, if there's individual needs or if there's something specific that you're thinking about, by all means, reach out to us. We want to make sure that this works for you, and we want to make sure that we have visibility to what we might need to do for one-on-one solutions as well.
Speaking real quick too, the other thing too is that if that does happen, absolutely. And if you miss it one day, like what happens then? The chat's actually being recorded, so there's a process in which we can get you caught up. And absolutely, we're absolutely interested in making sure that that you get caught up for all the reasons that they said, making sure that you're contributing at the level you want to contribute at, and we are very, very interested in making sure that you keep your head above water. So you have the resources and the plans in order to continue to see that those things happen. We're teammates, we promise.
Most of us. Yeah. Okay, we're running a little light on questions here, so feel free to jump in if you guys have some. But this rehashes some areas we talked about a little bit, but we can cover it a little more deeply. This person's basically asking, who's the ideal candidate for the program? We talked a little bit about demographics and kind of, age and job background and stuff. But what about kind of more kind of personality characteristic, the kind of people that we think are going to get the program?
Yeah, so one of the big things about like the difference between like this online learning, right? So using resources like Code Academy and Linda and all the different online books and all the other things you can find out there. One of the big things that differentiates a person who studies that way versus somebody who, let's say, works at the nerdery is that there is that personality and social component that makes somebody a good fit to be a software developer. So not to sound like very cheesy, but work in a team and communicate. These are all things that are actually are really, really important. So I know there's a traditional stereotype of a programmer, and actually the ideal programmer is not that traditional stereotype. Somebody who is communicative and very much kind of sometimes in some cases a little bit of a salesperson who can see things at a higher level than just like individual tasks. So understanding that what you're working on right now, how it fits into larger grand scheme of things, is actually a really important thing. And like the list goes on and on and on. But really, you might have like 3 or 4 of those things, out of a list of 100. But that's part of what Prime is also teaching you too, is teaching you how to kind of massage out those other components and actually be the software developer that's desirable to hire. The last thought that I'll pass over to Fred here is that basically, if you're outgoing and like to solve problems, I think those are the big two things that I look for when I look at candidates.
What Scott said, and additionally, the perfect programmer is basically a myth. You can come into programming from many different backgrounds and be extraordinarily successful. You can have different interest sets, and again, here at the Nerdy, you're going to find folks who have come into development backgrounds from all kinds of different careers, and they might have different interests. Someone might be more interested in the front end. Someone might be more interested in design. Like, those are all things that can blend into programming. Some people have amazing skills with client communication. Some people are just fantastic with teams and can mentor people and can teach back concepts and explain them and communicate them very well. Those are all things that go into making a team of programmers greater than just the sum of its parts. And that's really what we hope to accomplish with the cohort as well. We're not looking for one individual type of person. We're looking for a group that's going to work very well together and has multiple strengths and skills that can really be additive. So that's probably a vague answer to your question, but it's probably realistic. It's the right answer. And whatever independent skill and value that you bring, that's kind of what we want to hear and what we're looking for.
and don't be a jerk.
Yes, don't be a jerk. This is a big one. Yeah.
This person asks, where is Prime Academy located? City, address, nearby major intersection. So, okay, Prime Academy is located in Bloomington at 9401 James Avenue South, Suite 152.
2 doors down from the nursery.
2 doors down from the nursery. The nearby major intersection would be 35W and 94th Street. Kind of landmarks around here would be, yeah, we're pretty close to 494 and 35W, the intersection there. It is accessible via 2 different bus lines. It's kind of near the Bloomington Oxborough Place Transit Center, not right on top of it, but near it. And then we'll have obviously parking for students that are traveling. As we mentioned earlier, it is currently under construction. I actually was spending this morning drawing a diagram of where all the electrical outlets go. So we are actively working on getting it built out. So unfortunately, we don't have a place for you to come look at right now, but we will be taking possession of the space in February. And it's looking really good already. It's going to be a cool space. It has polished concrete floors and there's really great workstations, kind of adjustable height, electronically adjustable height desks with nice big monitors on them for the students. And we're excited to have the space built out and have you guys be able to come in and take a look at it. But for right now, we are kind of going off of a promise that it's gonna be a really cool spot.
Yep.
Yeah, awesome.
And one of the values of having it right next door to the nursery too is to make sure that you guys get an authentic context. So we have things planned out so that you can basically see some of the things you get towards the nursery. You can basically attend a couple events over here and get an idea of what an actual development area looks like. So we have a lot of things planned out for cross-pollination back and forth between Prime and the nursery as well.
And our other earning partners.
Absolutely, can't stress that enough.
Okay, this question says, will classes be paced so that if we are getting concepts quickly as a group, we move ahead and areas, and if we are basically struggling as a group, we slow down?
Yeah, actually, Fred and I were having this conversation actually this past few days. There's a concept we're kicking around. So I've actually been teaching at a college level for the past 5 years, and when we teach at a college level, there's a very structured syllabi, very kind of mechanically move through. Whereas I'm not a huge fan of that because, to your point, there are some classes you just get it real quick, and that'd be super exciting. So we have the concept of the technology cube. Basically, as we go through and start instructing this, I'm recognizing where the group is at, and the faster we move through a topic, the more we move through the technology cube. But that is super dependent on the fact of whether or not we think that you get it. So me, myself teaching for almost a decade now, and Fred with his cognitive psych background, we'll be able to educate. And education, right? I throw that down, right? We're into the needs, and we're going to look for recognition patterns, making sure that you actually do understand it. Can you teach it back? And if at that point we see that the group is moving faster, we're absolutely going to keep turning the topics as fast as I can. I'm actually the program itself is written for the 18 weeks. We're actually writing for anywhere from 24 to 26 weeks of content. So, but at the same time, if the group is struggling, like, hey, we definitely want to slow it down. We're not going to move on to a new topic because a lot of these topics are super dependent on the previous topics, and so we can't move on to a new one unless we have mastered the old one. At least have a really good idea how the old one works. So it is something we're absolutely talking about.
Yeah, and to add on to what Scott said there too, there's some things that basically have a set developmental flow. You have to basically hit a certain topic to get a foundation in order to bridge to a deeper topic. So some things will be somewhat dependent on pace that everyone can get through, but there's a lot of elements that would be very intentional about planning out in a modular format as well. And that goes from activities to self-study, so that if someone is faster than peers, they'll have activities planned out, versus if someone needs a little bit of extra help, we basically want to make sure that we have that time built in so that we can guide them to that study that'll bring them up to that baseline. We have a very strong emphasis in making sure that you guys are equipped with the minimum skill sets to be hireable at the end. And that is the key thing that we're basically shooting on. So whatever that takes at the individual level, to make sure that if that's one-on-one, if that's basically keeping an eye towards where you are, and we have some things that we're planning out from all the way from self-reflection to making sure that we get opportunities to see basically what you've learned in a very structured fashion that'll help us understand what assistance you might need and where can we provide the right level of guidance for both you and the rest of the cohort. So it's definitely something, it's the reason why I'm here on the team, and it's something that we take very seriously. So it's a fantastic question. If you want more detailed answers, by all means, reach out, email me. I'd be happy to talk to you for quite a while about that. It's kind of my pet thing.
The other little just asterisk on that too is that there's a lot more to being a software developer, good software developer, than just learning the technology stack. And so another big thing that we really focus on is always, it's kind of lame in a way to call them soft skills, but they're kind of bucketing stuff. But being able to like teach your peers and understand, like, can you troubleshoot? Can you if someone else is struggling, can you actually like figure out where the problem is, isolate, and help them work through what their lack of understanding. So we'll be leaning on the class side, especially those who are grasping concepts to help their peers, not because we're lazy, but because it's actually going to help you become a much better developer. So
the myth of basically the solo programmer in the basement it's not the reality of what people hire for. What they're hiring for are people who work collaboratively, who are great in a team, who have they just bring so many different things to the table. And that's really what we're going to be stressing in terms of when we talk about behavior, skills, things like that. It's really all we mean by that is just making sure that you're equipped to be hireable on the team so that when they're interviewing you, you already kind of know the expectations. You already know kind of what that work style is going to be like to a degree.
And that's a big part of the kind of the take-home message here is, as Scott mentioned, the curriculum's being designed is actually longer than the program is, so that we have some runway should a cohort really take off and be great. Having said that, the core of the program, the point of the program is to make you hireable.
Yes.
And so while we can get through lots of content, lots of different technologies, we can teach you a lot of stuff. Not all of that is necessary for you to be hireable. So that's the things that we're we're really focusing, that we're working with the hiring partners to understand what do people need in order to be able to be employable and be able to get a job with them. That's stuff that's going to happen whether your cohort is going slow or going fast. The how you apply that stuff and the technical aspects of that is the stuff that will flex a little bit based on how quickly your cohort is moving.
Yeah, great question. Yeah.
Okay, so this question says, I have submitted my application. If I get turned down, but with information on how to improve my eligibility, how long until I'm able to apply again? Sorry for the vagueness. Basically, I want to know if you have a set time for reapplying. You guys thought about that?
Honestly, very easy people to take the feedback we get, and then obviously they're be motivated and want to correct the things that made them not eligible for the program. And so personally, I'm not, somebody, especially when you get a monthly cycle, like I'm just getting bulletin every month. If somebody gets feedback, like to me, like if they can come back to us in 2-3 weeks, or even like 4 or 5 months, if they can show me that they made those corrections and they're dedicated to learning and engaging, like that's it's going to take as long as it's going to take. And if it takes 2 weeks, great. If it takes 2 months, that's fine too.
Yeah, it's going to be a very individual answer. And to that thought, there are some things that, depending on what might get you to that next level, that might be fairly quickly attained. There might be other things that, back to Scott's original comment, if there's a lot of things that are showing that you might not work well with other people, that's going to be a harder piece of feedback. But that's for the most part, we're expecting that if you didn't quite qualify, it's probably because there are opportunities that, knowing the depth of the curriculum, knowing the speed at which we're going to be going, 2, we want to make sure that you have a chance to prep on these things and to engage with it at a level that you can be successful with. It doesn't do you any good to invest in something it's a big commitment, both in time and cost. And we want to make sure that you're successful at it and that we can give you the guidance to be most successful through that. And that's kind of the key thing. So depending on the level of time that takes, or is that something that that when you see, it might actually be, further to get to that point, that's a personal decision at that point. But we definitely want to help offer that guidance as you guys encountered and as you ask.
And should you be excluded from a cohort, or someone else is selected above you, we'll make sure to give you feedback and ultimately make your application more desirable. So we, we're not getting thousands and thousands and thousands of applications submissions. We want you in just as much as you want to get in, but at the same time, we're gonna select the best between the crop basically and handle the cohorts. But at some point, we want to include you. So we'll work together and figure out what the best way to do that is.
Yeah, and that's not, to be clear, it's not about us saying you're not good enough for the program. It's about us trying to make sure that you're positioned to be able to get the most out of the program, and that you're ready to be able to take what we're doing at Prime and get value out of it and be able to turn that into a career for yourself. And in some cases, some people are going to be ready to hit the ground running and go from there. In some cases, people maybe need a little bit more prep before they're ready to take advantage of it. And that's what we're trying to do with the admissions process, is make sure it's as much for your benefit as it is for ours. So next question. When somebody finishes your program, what is the candidate qualified to do? And then kind of what does a day in the life of a programmer look like? I'll answer the first part, and you guys can maybe chime in, especially you, Scott, with the second part. So our program is focused, the curriculum is JavaScript based. So we are focusing on web technologies. But having said that, a lot of the stuff that we're learning is fundamental to a variety of different software engineering type fields. But coming out of the program, we are modeling some of it after what we know from here at the Nerdery and other hiring partners, that you are going to be qualified to apply and hopefully be winning positions as kind of entry-level software engineers. It's called a million different things in a million different companies, so it's hard to say exactly what it is. But it could be anything from software engineer to junior software engineer to associate web developer. There's a bunch of different titles that it could be, but ultimately we're hoping to give you the skills to be able to be functional as in front-end web development. So that's HTML, CSS, JavaScript, jQuery, things like Angular, and different kind of frameworks. And then we're going to give you some exposure to back-end development in JavaScript using Node and Express and some other technologies there. So you're going to have a good founding of that stuff. So really, I would say, front-end and JavaScript-based technologies, you're going to be really well positioned for hireability there. We're expecting that a lot of people are going to be passionate about other things. Maybe they really are into Python or Ruby or something like that, and that they're going to be building off what we're giving them in class, maybe even while they're in the program, and exploring some of those other ideas. And those are going to be things that will be open up kind of pathways for them for hiring. But our curriculum is based on JavaScript.
So here's a big thought on that. Here's why this works. So you're gonna probably be like, oh, what do you mean? Like it doesn't. It might sound really ambiguous, and it is. And here's what it all really boils down to, is that what our hiring partners actually care about is that you're a good individual who teach himself how to teach and learn how to program. It doesn't really necessarily matter what language it is, because some might be hiring Rails, and they might hire you to do Rails, even though you learned JavaScript over years, because you have proven that you can actually teach yourself a development language in a short period of time. Furthermore, you have, and so you can actually take all of that understanding over to something like Rails. You've shown that you can learn development really quickly, and that's actually something I would say overwhelmingly the thing that makes our graduates super appealing to the hiring network, is that they've gone through the program. Because of what the program is, you're appealing. And so, as Mark kind of said, it's really tough to answer exactly what the position is that you might attain, because there's just a huge spattering. And honestly, once you start meeting with our hiring partners and start, as you actually talk to people who come in and do with career fairs and stuff like that. You're going to get to know these individuals who are hiring and start to understand that a lot better.
Programming is definitely a multilingual craft. And you'll find that basically getting established in understanding the grammar, the fundamentals of being able to program is huge. That opens up so many different doors for more specificity into certain different career tracks that you might take from there. But that initial point is getting the mindset, understanding how it works, understanding some of those core concepts like MVC, object-oriented programming, all of those things are going to be fundamental to kicking off a career. We want to make sure that you understand that programming is a long road. There isn't a single time investment and then you're done and now you're a programmer. There's a continual aspect of development in it. There's continual learning. And it's one of the things that we all love. It's one of the things that's really exciting. It's one of the things that attracts so many people to that field. But it also means that where you can take it, what careers are open to you, there's a huge amount of variability in there. And that's one of the things that we want to make sure that we provide you with experiences, speaker panels, different contexts so that you understand what that might look like. And that's part of the programming. That's part of the things that will prepare you for in career development to the point where you've finished the program as well. So hopefully that sounds exciting and something that you're interested in.
Look at the time here, so I'm going to answer the second part of that question fairly quickly, which was the day in the life of. I would say roughly anywhere from 25 to 55. Okay, let me preface this. Nerdery is structured one particular way. We work with clients to build their really gas projects, whereas other teams might be working on some sort of internal project that if you're part of Target's internal team, for example, you're building internal projects for Target, whereas Nerdery gets all sorts of clients, and so we get a number of different projects. Yeah. So before coming to Prime, a typical day for me would typically be about 25 to 50% programming, depending on the day. Probably another solid 25% of client interaction. So whether that be with the client that I'm working with, is making sure the project is actually being developed the way that they want to be developed, or prospective clients, clients who are looking to have projects built with us, answering their technological questions and needs. As I was leading the Nerdery, I was doing a lot of team leading, so I was actually leading a lot of projects. So the other 25% of my day was kind of touching base with my team, making sure the project health is good. So looking at like the repositories, making sure that there are clean check-ins, check-outs, that subject code is actually sterile, and working within each individual person's build and making sure it's being migrated down to the master appropriately. So that sounds kind of geeky and technical, but at the same time, I'm working with interpersonal communication one-on-one, making sure that each of the team members are getting what they need to get their specific components. So cool. Just a really basic way of running that. A lot more to that than that.
Okay, this person has two questions. The first is about video and kind of making sure that the video works in HTML5 without Flash. I'm not certain. I think that you're maybe talking about the Hangout video itself, this thing, which is we did code. We're using Google Hangouts for it. If you're talking about something else, then submit another question and we can clarify from there. But the second question, will there be opportunities to do a student project for an open source project as a client? And that's one of the things that we're trying to put a lot of focus on in the program is doing real world project work. And so there will be within the program 2 different kinds of projects to be working on. One is projects that are largely self-directed. So this is stuff that you're passionate about, and it could be an open source project. It could be an idea that you have for something that you wanted to build or something that you're going to actually use in your real life. But the other projects, the group projects, will be sourced from local companies. So we're actually building relationships with organizations like the Minnesota Cup, which is a organization that works through the University of Minnesota and fosters entrepreneurship and startup companies here in Minnesota. So we'll be working with organizations like those to bring real-world projects that they have that actually are going to see the light of day, hopefully, into the classroom, so that you guys as students, even if you don't go on to do the apprenticeship through our apprenticeship network, you'll actually have some real-world projects and real kind of client-type work, even though it's kind of done pro bono, in your portfolio already going into the job market, and we think that that's important. So I guess the answer there is that yes, it is possible that you could be working on open source stuff, certainly on your own, and potentially depending upon the kinds of partners that get brought in, maybe even in your group projects. But that's an opportunity for sure. Okay, here's a good question. This person asks, at what point would someone be overqualified for the program? I.e., if we've had previous coursework, work experience in any of these programs, is that helpful? And I guess we've seen a really big range so far in the applications that have come in. And it's kind of a hard question to answer because ultimately it really depends on what you're looking to get from the program. I think that, we're expecting, on one hand, we might have somebody who's a 19-year-old kid, coming out of school that's done a ton of self-study and really knows a lot about programming, who's coming to Prime because they need to learn the soft skill stuff and they want to build their credibility in the workplace. On the other hand, we might have somebody who's, in their 30s, they've been working for a long time in the in the industry, maybe doing something else. Maybe they've been a project manager or in quality assurance, or they're doing Flash, and they know a lot of the technology or a lot of soft skill stuff, but they're looking to get familiarity with JavaScript and some of the modern web technologies. It kind of depends on that. I guess what would be an indicator for you guys? What would tell you that somebody was beyond what the program is about?
During the application process, there's an interview, and so you get a chance to sit down and chat with us. I think that at that point, we sit down and basically, somebody who's clearly showing that they already have a background in possibly front end to back end, the full stack engineering, has experience working with teams. I think the question might just be a frank, like, what are you looking to get out of the program? And it basically just a conversation of we are just as much interested in providing for you as you are providing to us, because on the other end, you guys need to graduate and get a job as a software developer in order for us to be credible. So, if we're both getting what we need out of the program, I think it's a great fit. And sometimes, it might not be the case, but I think it's going to be such an individual case-by-case basis that we just kind of need to chat with you. If you're really concerned about it, certainly shoot an email over to us and we'll take a look at it with you and maybe chat with you a little more one-on-one. But I think a good thing to think about is that you already come from a development background and you're looking for a gig, you're looking for a job, and you're kind of having a hard time in the modern workplace getting a job. I'd be interested in basically figuring out what is it that you are used to that might be different from what's happening now, and making sure that Prime can actually attack those spots and get you desirable as a hire. So.
And another side of that is that I would say if you already have a very strong, and obviously that can be different things, programming background, we don't want the program for Prime to be any easier for you. We don't want it to be boring for you. So in that sense, the expectations are going to be different for you. If you're coming in with a stronger background, we expect to see some of those team leadership things. We expect to see you practicing some of those skills that are going to make you hireable or give you better experience with the other people in your cohort. We expect you to basically bring a whole different level to the program. If you're already coming in with basically a strong skill set, we want you to practice many of those other things, and we want you to practice it basically so that you can say to a hiring partner at the end within your interview, I'm skilled in leading teams. I'm skilled in making sure that projects work flawlessly, collaboratively. That's exactly. So we would be looking for and guiding you towards some different outcomes. So going back to talking about some of those original discussions about the hireability baseline, if you feel like you might already be above that hireability baseline, what we would look to challenge you on is what are some of those other skills that might not just be programming based that we can really drive home with you throughout the program. So it's an individual discussion at that point.
And if you're really, really overqualified, we'd actually be interested in talking about a possible mentorship.
Absolutely.
As well too. So actually coming into the classroom. So just one note here is that in each of the classrooms there's going to be an instructor like myself, but there's also going to be a mentor. I know Mark does such a good job talking about that, and let him talk about the mentor.
Sure. So the way that we're staffing the classroom is a little unique in that we're trying to kind of get the best of both worlds. We want people with significant teaching background who are passionate about teaching and that want to be there, but we also want to be able to ensure that we're getting really current, like modern, up-to-the-minute context in the classroom. So the way that we're doing that is we'll have each cohort is going to have an instructor like Scott, but then they're also going to be paired with a mentor who's drawn from the workforce. So we're developing what are essentially sabbatical programs in partnership with a number of people within the hiring network, whereby Prime basically pays a working engineer's salary for 6 months, and they come and go through 2 cohorts. So in the classroom, you'll have 2 resources on a regular basis. One will be your teacher, and the other will be this mentor who is a working engineer that's kind of taking 6 months away from their work to be able to help you guys learn and develop as engineers. So I think it's a really cool opportunity, and it's a great way for you guys to also get in and kind of begin your network that's going to help you professionally with somebody who's really passionate about helping people develop their careers. But the last note that I would put in on the overqualified thing, or like where it is, these guys covered a lot of it in more detail than I have, or in what I would be good at covering. But I think the main thing is you have to believe that the program is going to help you, and you have to be able to see that you can get value out of it. Ultimately, if you're saying, look, I'm between jobs and I don't have anything going on for the next 4.5 months, so I guess I'll do this, even though I don't really know what I'm going to get out of it, I don't think it's going to be a good fit for you, because I also don't think that you're going to be interested in spending the kind of time and the kind of commitment that we're looking for from students. So that's something to consider, I guess. It's not necessarily a question of qualification as much as it is of objectives and why you're interested in the program to begin with.
And we're happy to talk with you more one-on-one on there. There's other boot camps and other programs that are out there that might not be looking for beginners either. So there's multiple options we can guide you in the right direction too.
So this will probably be the last question because we're out of time here, but it's a good one. It says, you probably covered this, which we haven't. How many females are there in your field? I don't see any women walking by the window, exclamation point. There actually is a woman right outside the window. She's just, she's in her cube. Scott's going to go prove that there are women here. But yeah, no, the nerdery is, yeah, there we go. That's a woman's arm right there. We'll take your word for it at this point. But yeah, so the nerdery, like many other companies in the field, is a company that cares about gender equality. Actually, the Nerdery and Modern Climate, two companies in our hiring network, have actually taken the step of offering. Each of them are offering a $500 scholarship to every woman that's accepted in the program to try and encourage more women to get into software engineering. So actually, if you're a woman, you'll get $1,000 off of your tuition, courtesy of Modern Climate and the Nerdery. But it is a challenge, and it's not something, I can't claim that the Nerdery or really hardly any companies locally have a 50-50 gender balance within their membership. But we're trying to help with this. What I can say is that we've seen an incredibly positive and balanced response in the applications that we've received so far. If anything, it's been surprising to me that it's been maybe potentially even weighted more towards women than it has been towards men, which is really cool and is very exciting for a lot of our partners to hear. Yeah, exactly. More questions, so. Yeah, we can see if we can go through this. So this is a question, how about people who are reaching a mature age, which is maybe more of a state of mind than anything else.
Yeah, I was going to say the other, in addition to the slightly more women applying more than men, I would say that the age differential has been so broad that, yes, people who are maturing in age have been applying to the program and absolutely have been some strong candidates. So
it's probably a 30-year spread, 25, 30-year spread between the youngest and the oldest. So, that's really exciting. That's frankly one of the things that our hiring partners have been encouraged by and excited about. They like the idea that it was a diverse pool of people that were coming out of the program, and it wasn't just, frankly, like there are CS programs all over the country that are churning out 19-year-olds and 22-year-olds and 21-year-olds that know something about computers. But a lot of what they're coming to us for is a more well-rounded candidate, somebody who has more kind of soft skills, more of that stuff. And frankly, a lot of people that have been in the workforce are coming with a lot of that stuff already. So they're really excited to be able to get somebody who's technically vetted but also has the soft skills. So and then we'll have this be the last question. It says, don't worry about answering this in the video, but what's the best way to get a hold of you to sponsor a replacement for? Oh yeah. Oh, okay. So any questions that you guys might have for us, feel free to contact us. You can do that a couple different ways. Probably the easiest way is just to email us at hello@primeacademy.io. Alternatively, you can always tweet to us, send us a message on Facebook, or even just give us a call on the plain old boring telephone at 952-222-8108. All of our contact info is on the website, so feel free to reach out from there. But we're all pretty highly available. These guys are working on curriculum a lot, but I pull them in when the questions need their expertise. But I'm more than happy to answer any questions. And we've talked to dozens and dozens and dozens of candidates who called in with questions and had great chance to talk a little bit and answer questions and learn a little bit about you guys as you're applying to. So don't hesitate to reach out. We're really interested in talking with you. There will be one more session. I think it's the 9th of January. I think it's maybe the 7th. One of those. It's on the website. But one more Q&A session. So if more questions come up and you want to ask there and you don't want to do it via email, feel free to join another session. But we look forward to seeing applications from you guys, and hopefully we will see you in the classroom at some point. So
Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year. Have a good day.